Greetings, petrol heads. Welcome back to Automation, a car company tycoon game. So today we're gonna be looking at the last 2020 concept for Athena, and it's a sort of retro one. It's never actually gonna be meant to be put into production. It's just there for a show, basically. It's called the CXX. XX is just a placeholder for this will never be produced. And C obviously stands for coupe. So this is sort of a blend of old school and new school. Old school is obviously the shape, although to be honest with you, if you haven't heard about the news that TVR is supposed to be returning, TVR is coming back. And I only saw, like, at that article there was a picture of what is supposedly going to be the new TVR, and it had pretty much this exact silhouette, although this is in the game a car body from the 40s, 50s, somewhere around there. So anyway, old school looks, obviously, although, you know, the sort of fog light plus indicator combination isn't something you'd find in the 40s and 50s. That came a little bit later. Still, it's not particularly like 2010s worthy or something like that, or 2020. Silhouette, it actually looks like a coupe from the, well, 40s and 50s, like a Morgan. Morgan are actually, I don't think they're still producing the Morgan Aeromax, but that had pretty much this exact shape as well. And then on the rear, some big red taillights with indicators in them. Some downward bent exhausts. Those are actually from the workshop, if you didn't know. And the only thing that isn't old school on the rear end is this, the braking light down there. Mechanically speaking, we have an aluminium monocoque, which is certainly not something you'd find in the 40s and 50s. Longitudinal engine placement, the wishbones up front, multi-link rear. Again, multi-link certainly not something you'd find in the 40s and 50s, and neither is the fiberglass body panels. So there's actually no carbon fiber here, and that makes it not ridiculously expensive. I think we've talked about the design enough, and let's head over here. It's rear-wheel drive, so really old school in that regard. Front engine, rear-wheel drive, and the engine is an all-new inline-six block, the Apollon inline-six. It's a 4.2 liter, which is what you got in like well, in the first generation E-Type basically, and some other old cars. It's made from the lightest possible materials, though obviously not available back then. Neither was the dual overhead cam 4-valve per cylinder setup. Actually, Fiat already knew of the 4-valve per cylinder configuration. They found that, they invented that, if you will, even before the 60s, I think. But still, it was by no means common back then. And I also don't know whether it was first a single overhead cam 4-valve per cylinder or dual overhead cam 4-valve per cylinder setup. In any case, we got billet steel crank, I-beam titanium conrods, and then low friction cast pistons. Those are going to be crucial for a specific aspect of this car, which we're going to be talking about a little bit later. Very low cam profile, 10.4 compression, VVT on all cams. A single turbo, and pretty low turbine size, and by no means like maxed out on compression ratio, AR ratio, and compressor size, AR ratio, and boost. And then we have a very lean running engine with an RPM limit of just 5700. That's because of the low friction cast pistons. They don't like any more. You could see that even going from 5700 to 5800 would decrease reliability from 91 to 88.3, so we're losing quite a lot of reliability if we go any higher. and running on 95 octane fuel. A 3-way cat and 2 reverse flow mufflers. And yeah, this engine is very economical. That's what it's for. It's the turbo spools up quickly, makes good mid-range torque. 300 horsepower is more than enough, and it is extremely reliable. Like, honestly, this has to be one of the most reliable engines I've ever built. And 404 pound-feet of torque is still basically the same torque that you get from a BMW M3/M4 these days. They make 406 pound-feet, so not really that much difference there. This car, well, if it were ever to be produced, which it isn't, but it would come with either a 7-speed double clutch with this ratio right here, or a 6-speed manual with this ratio right here. Either way, for the purposes of this car right here, we're gonna stick with the double clutch for now. Electric diff, +5 quality into the gearbox. We have 205 front tires, 225 rear tires, magnesium rims. No need for carbon fiber here, I don't think. Sports tires. Well, these tires are not very wide, but you can see that we're barely making any wheel spin anyway, so it doesn't matter. We have carbon brakes though. That's one area where I think, you know, on a somewhat sporty car like this, you should, like in 2020, you should put carbon ceramic brakes on that. I think by 2020, unless it's a budget sports car, pretty much every sports car in 2020 will have carbon brakes. Almost everyone, unless again it's meant to be cheap. Fully clad under tray, +7 quality. We have no aerodynamic fixtures, so wing arms don't matter. Cooling airflow is more than enough, again boosting our reliability a little bit. A handmade interior, 4 seats, and then here's the key thing: no entertainment, and I'm gonna come back to that in a second. All driver assists, advanced safety, hydropneumatic springs, active sway bars, and then a pretty comfortable setup here, but with a decent amount of sportiness. And the reason this doesn't have entertainment is because, you know, this should look from the outside and inside like an old car. And, you know, on the inside, with the handmade interior, you're gonna get like lovely panels, lovely stitching, and nice seats and everything. But you're not gonna get like 18-inch touchscreens everywhere and air vents that pop up electrically and stuff like that. You're not gonna get any of that. And that's because this car is supposed to be there for drivers. It's supposed to give you an old school feel, but with new school tech. And the main point, of course, is the engine, which makes 300 horsepower, and that's enough for most situations. And it also makes incredible fuel economy. Look at that, 6.3 liters per 100 kilometers. That's actually really good for a car which will do 0 to 100 in 4.4 seconds, reach a top speed of 250, and complete the quarter mile in 13 seconds. Now, individually speaking, those numbers aren't like hugely impressive. 4.4 seconds, 0 to 100, sure, it's quick, but you know, there are quicker cars out there. 250 kilometers an hour, again, it's fast, but, or it's pretty much as fast as every car goes these days. as fast as most cars go, except for eco cars, of course. So not that impressive, but you know, nice. 6.3 liters per 100 kilometers. Again, good, unless it's a dedicated eco car, in which case it's bad. But it isn't. So what kind of role would this car serve if it were ever to be produced? That's kind of hard to say, but I think in a sentence it's the long distance cruiser for those without a set destination. Yeah, because if you had a set destination, you would want a GPS in there telling you exactly where to go and how to get there, and how much distance is left. In this thing, you could drive on the highway for hours and hours and not get like stressed out or not get uncomfortable. Especially 43.5 comfort is actually really high, considering we don't have any entertainment. If you put the luxury heads-up display in there, comfort would go from 43.5 to 68.1. So that's just to give you a little bit of an idea of how comfortable this car inherently is with this engine that is so smooth, and with this kind of ride, with this rider quality, with the suspension quality and everything it has. But why didn't we do this? First of all, for the reasons I explained. It's supposed to look old school inside and out, and secondly, of course, 180 kilograms of extra weight, increased fuel consumption. Don't want that. But then again, it's probably never gonna exist. For now, it's decent to look at, I think. It just looks, man, this kind of body shell is just timeless. It looks like, I mean, if you'd make the lines of the front windshield and the bonnet lights and so on, if you'd accentuate those just a little bit to the modern standards, it would look like a new car, in my opinion. So, well, that's the CXX, never to be produced, but still probably worth looking at. I hope you guys oh no, before I do the outro, one important thing. The next campaign I'll do is gonna be, well, somebody suggested me to do a sort of lightweight sports car campaign. Yeah, okay, that's the next sort of theme I'm gonna be following. Also, I would like to do more reviews. I have one or two entries now, but you know, maybe I'll just take a break from doing campaigns and instead just do more reviews, or maybe a sort of fan build competition, which I'd have to think about first, of what kind of theme that would be about. I'm gonna take my time and probably do a Let's Talk video about that. So for now, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Leave a like or a comment if you did. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.